Father, we're thankful for the privilege of having Greek class today. We pray for your blessing on the students. Help us as we look at your word to be edified spiritually, to help them as they grow in their understanding of this language, and that you be glorified and help them to grow in their ability to minister for you. And we pray for your blessing on the teaching as well. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Go ahead and let's start the 18 track 2. All right, Haste. Let's do Haste.
Akuatai, third person singular, present middle indicative of akuo. He is being heard. Yeah, that's what that says.
Okay, third person singular, present middle indicative, akuo. He is being heard. Okay, agathos ekakos. Agathos. Yes. Now I want to point something out. In the present tense, when you first learn them, the my saitai method s anti, you have the same forms for the middle and the passive. So akuatai here is third singular present middle / passive is what you want to say for it, of akuo indicative. So third singular present middle passive indicative of akuo he she it is being heard. Now in the aorist, remember you have a different form for the aorist middle and the aorist passive. So if this was an aorist, you would just say aorist middle, or you would say aorist passive. You wouldn't say aorist middle passive. But since in the present the form is either middle or passive, you'd want to say it's a third singular present middle passive indicative, middle / passive indicative, which you wouldn't do for the aorist. So what you said is fine, and it could be a middle, but this could also be a passive form depending on context. That's a little tricky. If you don't remember that it's the same present, different aorist, it's easy to not remember that. So that's why I pointed out. Okay, dua.
Lueste. Second person plural. Middle passive. Indicative. That's going to come from luo, which means, so this would be you are being loosed.
Okay. Agathos ekakos?
Nai.
Nai. All right, Hugo. Second plural, present, middle passive indicative, luo, ye are being loosed. Okay, Yuga. How about a trace?
ἐρχομαι, first person singular, present middle deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι, I am coming.
A first singular present middle deponent indicative, ἐρχομαι, I am coming. Nai eu?
Nai.
If it's a deponent, it has the active meaning anyway, but you'd want to say middle passive deponent indicative because of the form. So first singular present middle passive deponent indicative, ἐρχομαι, I am coming. Though since it has the active meaning, like with the other one, with the akuatai, since this is not deponent, you actually have to decide contextually whether it's middle or passive. Here, since it's deponent, doesn't affect the translation. All right, so that was trace. How about thesaurus?
All right, so that's going to be a third person singular. It's going to be middle passive indicative from ἀποκρινομαι, he is being killed.
Okay, third person singular, present middle indicative from ἀποκρινομαι, he is being killed. Agathos ekakos?
Nai.
Nai. Okay, you're very generous. Very generous. That is not correct. What do you think should be corrected on there?
It's ἀποκρινομαι, so it's deponent.
Okay, so ἀποκρινομαι. So the lexical form is ἀποκρινομαι. So it's middle deponent. Okay, so third singular present middle deponent indicative. ἀποκρινομαι. And does it mean I was killed or I am killed?
No, he is answering.
Aha. Answering. So what would the translation of ἀποκρινόμαι be then?
He was answering?
He, she, or it was answering. Yeah, instead of being killed, he was answering. So again, definitely preferable to either answer or be killed. It's better to answer. All right, thesaurus was third singular present middle passive deponent indicative, ἀποκρινομαι, he, she, it was answering. Okay, penta.
Peruantai, third person, plural, present, middle passive deponent indicative of peruamai, they are going.
Okay, third person plural, present, middle passive deponent indicative, pareuomai, they are going. Nai e u.
Did you say going or doing?
They are going.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so nai. Yeah, so the third person plural, middle passive deponent indicative, pareuomai, they are going. All right, you go. All right, agathos. Agathos. How about hex?
Ἐρχέστε.
Erkestha.
Ἐρχέστε.
This is not the most important thing to learn. Do you all remember what is the name for the last syllable, the syllable before the last syllable, and the syllable before the syllable that's before the last syllable?
Augment.
Well, so the last syllable is called the ultima. This is then you have the penult before the last one. And then the first one is the third syllable is the antepenult. So this is the antepenult here, the ἐρχέστε. So that's the technical antepenult, the penult, and the ultima. So this is accented on the antepenult. So it's ἐρχέστε, not ἐρχέστε. Which again, it's more important to know what it means than to remember that stuff. But you might actually see in like a technical commentary talking about the syllables or whatever. So antepenult, penult, and ultima. All right. So what does this mean and how is it parsed?
Second person plural. I think that comes from ἐρχομαι, which would make it a middle deponent indicative. So then that would be you plural are coming.
Okay. Agathos ekakos?
No.
No, okay. Except I would say it's middle passive deponent indicative because, again, the form in the present is the same. So second plural, present, middle passive deponent indicative. ἐρχομαι, ye are going or coming. All right, you go. How about hepta?
Ἀποκρινome, second person singular, present, middle passive deponent indicative of ἀποκρινome, you are answering.
The second singular present, middle deponent indicative, ἀποκρινομαι, you singular are answering. Agathos ekakos?
Agathos.
Remember the present, middle / passive, not just middle passive deponent indicative. So, all right. How about octo?
Tsunage. Second person singular. That's going to come from tsunago, which is going to make it present active indicative. You gather together.
Okay, second singular, present, active indicative, tsunago, you gather together. Agathos ekakos?
No, third person singular.
Oh, third person singular? Okay, why? Te.
The ending. Luo, lue, sule.
You guys. So what would the second singular be?
Tsunages.
Tsunages. Yeah, so you'd have the sigma at the end. No sigma, so you got third singular, present, active indicative, tsunago. He, she, it is gathering. All right, agathos and naa.
Agapometha, first person plural, present, middle passive indicative of agapao. We are being loved.
First person plural, present, middle passive indicative, agapao, we are being loved. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. All right, kalos, which is also means good, of course. All right, deca.
Dunontai. It's going to be a third person plural. That comes from dunamai, making it a middle deponent indicative. They are able or they have power to.
Okay. Agathos ekakos. Third plural,
Right.
present, middle, passive, deponent, indicative, dunamai, they are able or have power to.
No.
Yeah. All right, you got. All right, that was pretty good. We got our parsing there. We'll get warm now for a little bit. So we'll go down here to Hayes of the warm-up. Got a TR variant here. TR is 97% of the manuscripts. The Nestle has 1.5. I've kind of moved away from calling the Nestle text the critical text because remember, like you have like Nestle, like Nestle himself said that these texts aren't really critical. It's like we're making stuff up that no one's ever seen before. So how critical is that? So I just call it the Nestle text, the Nestle one instead of critical. But I think, I mean, if you're critical, you mean like you're not receiving the Bible, you're trying to reproduce it. It's fine, but as a term, but that's why I'm doing it more, the NA text. All right, so go ahead, Hayes.
Sunegthe pros auton aklos. And I translated that as the crowd is being gathered toward him.
Okay, the crowd is being gathered toward him. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. The crowd is being gathered towards him. Okay, what is the parsing for the TR verb?
I was wondering that.
Did I give you that? I think I might have given it to you. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's right there at the bottom. So TR is aorist passive indicative third singular from sunago, because at this point you wouldn't know aorist. You might know it now as we're going over, but you didn't when you're supposed to have done this. What does sunago mean?
A gather.
Yeah, gather together. Can you think of a word that maybe a place where people would gather that might be an easy way to remember sunago?
A synagogue.
Synagogue, yeah, synagogue, yeah. So that nice way to remember synagogue from that. And then what would the parsing be for the NA verb, sunagatai?
Third person singular middle passive indicative of sunago.
Yeah, you. Yeah. You. So yeah, so the aorist passive versus present middle passive. So crowd gathered together, TR versus a crowd is being gathered. Kind of sounds weird, but the Nestle reading. But that would be that. I'm not saying the crowd is necessarily wrong, but there is no article there. So, a crowd would certainly be fine. All right, so that's mark on tesserace haste, mark 4-1. Let's go on to dua.
Ἐρχονται ace oikon. They are coming into the house, or they're coming into a house because there's no article given.
They are coming into a house. Okay. Agathos ekakos.
Erkatai singular should be he is going into the house.
Well, the TR has ἐρχονται. So
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I see that.
I actually was going to ask you what the difference of the parsing was. So now we have successfully parsed both the TR, which is third person plural, and the Nestle text, which is third person singular. How would you translate the Nestle reading? What would that be?
he is coming into the house.
Yeah, so it's they are going or coming into a house, or he is going or coming into a house. Yeah, so TR they are, and singular in the Nestle text. And 99.5% with the TR, 0.5% with the Nestle. All right, how about trace?
Kaletai Bethel.
Kaletai Beth Le'em. You can see
Bethlehem.
that's a word from Hebrew, because that isn't a typically Greek way you would, doesn't look very typical. It looks like another language brought in. Bethlehem, which of course it is. All right, how would you translate that?
It is being called Bethlehem.
Okay, it is being called Bethlehem. Okay. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. Okay, what is kaletai? The parsing for that.
Third person singular middle passive indicative of kaleo. I call.
Okay, third person singular middle passive indicative of kaleo, I call. All right, na eu.
Nai.
I want to point this out here. This is valuable. Now, back in the parsing, when you just have this on its own, it's the form is middle or passive with the etai, the present middle. In this sentence, this form is indeed a middle or passive form. But in this sentence, it's either middle or passive. So because now we have context, the actual sentence, you wouldn't say this is middle passive. You would decide which it is and say it's that. So with our context, is it middle or is it passive?
Middle. Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, passive. It is being called, so yeah, it'd be passive.
Passive, yeah. So Bethlehem isn't really calling itself, like reflecting
Right.
back on itself. It is called Bethlehem's. Yeah, so it's actually a present passive indicative, third singular. You go. So if you have present deponents with no context, you'd want to label them as middle passive. If it's deponent, then it has the active meaning anyway. But if it's a verb that's non-deponent, like this one, kaleo is just kaleo, you want to say whether it's actually middle or it's actually passive based on what they are. Now, of course, at this point, you haven't encountered any non-deponent middles yet. So any present tense verb with an active lexical form, but passive endings, that's not deponent is going to be passive because you haven't encountered any non-deponent middles yet, at least in chapter 18. So that's kind of a hint for you as well. But yeah, so this is present passive indicative. All right, Yuga, that was good to point that out. Let's do thesaurus.
Legusin auto ἐρχόμεθα. So they say to him, we are coming.
They say to him, we are coming. Okay. Agathos, Ekakos?
Agathos.
Wait a minute.
Agathos, okay. What's the parsing for legusin?
Third person plural. Present active indicative.
From
Lego.
Yeah, Lego
Which
meaning
means I say.
yeah. So you go. Yeah, that's right. So they say, or they are saying to him, we are coming. Oh, what's the ἐρχομαι? What's the parsing for that?
First person plural. Middle deponent indicative from ἐρχομαι.
First person plural, middle deponent indicative, ἐρχομαι, I come, go. You good? That is John 21:3. Ioannin heis kai heikasi trace. All right, let's do penta. So maybe we can just, these are pretty brief. Let's see if we can get to the translation.
Ha de Jesus ἀποκρινome autois. But Jesus is answering them.
But Jesus is answering them. Okay, and I think you translated that NA text there, the ἀποκρινome.
Yes,
what would
I did.
the ἀποκρινome be?
The third person singular aorist active indicative.
What would the lexical form be?
ἀποκρινome.
ἀποκρινome. Okay, so the lexical form's not my. So does that, how would that work?
It's the deponent.
Okay, so it's not active. Okay.
I don't know.
So it sounds like what you were saying was third person singular aorist middle deponent indicative from ἀποκρινome, but then very sadly, I don't know. So agathos ekakos. What do you think about that, Adolphos Yodi?
I agree with that parsing.
You agree? Oh, look at that. See? Wow. I agree too. So this is good. Yeah, so that is, it's a third singular aorist middle deponent indicative. ἀποκρινome, you've got the ta ending on there. And then the nestle text, the ἀποκρινome.
That's third person singular middle deponent indicative.
And what tense?
Present.
Present, yeah. So this is the aorist, and this is the present. All right. And then here again, we got a 98%, 1% is for the variance. Audiasus. So I think you translate it with the Nestle text. What would the translation of TR be?
It would be, but Jesus answered them.
Yeah, but Jesus answered them. You go. Okay. Do you want to stop there, or do you all want to finish these last two?
I'm fine with finishing them.
Finishing them?
I know how to translate the one that I've got coming, so I'm okay with.
Okay, he doesn't do his one. Okay, well, we'll finish them off then. That'll be good. We'll finish them off. Okay.
So for Zeta here, we have ἐρχονται προς τον Ιησούν. They come to Jesus.
Okay, they come to Jesus. Okay. From Mark on Pentadecapent. That's a great place to stop. Anyway, they come to Jesus. Or go to Jesus. Naiu?
Aye.
Nai, they come. And if you wanted to give it a more like progressive idea, you say they are coming or they are going. What would be the parsing for that? Of the ἐρχονται?
Third person plural, middle deponent, indicative. Lexical form is ἐρχομαι, which means I come.
Yuga, yeah. So they are coming or going to Jesus. They are going to Jesus. They are coming to Jesus. All right, Yuga, very good. And the last one here, we have hepta.
Kai parusta aston topon. And you are going into the city.
Okay, and you are going into the city. Agathos, ekos?
Agathos.
Agathos. You're both very generous. I mean, it's good. It's love covers a multitude of transgressions. This is good. There's one thing that is not correct in there. Tell me if you see it. Now that you know that it's there. You are going into the city.
Oh, the place? Is it into the place?
Oh, the place. Okay. Is it place or city?
Topon. I think topon is place.
Okay. Do you agree?
So I looked it up and it's place.
Aha. Yeah. So topos is. What is the word city?
Polis.
Polis. I think probably just figure it as cities in a place or something, because polis doesn't really look much like topos, but anything could happen. Yeah, so polis, polaos, hey, that's your word city. Like metropolis, right? Metropolis. All right, so and you and ye are going into the place. I'll just get that back. What's the parsing for the parus then?
That is second person plural, middle deponent indicative of parusomai. I come, I go.
Second plural, middle deponent indicative of parusomai. Did you say parusomai?
Yes.
Of parusomai, I come, I go. Agathos ekakos?
I'm wanting to say it's for you am I, but I'm not sure.
Aha, yeah. So yeah, the almost exactly right. But then yeah, the lexical form here is that pareuomai. Parusomai is the future tense form with that sigma telling you it's future. But the lexical form is just pareuomai. And so here, and ye are going into the place. All right. Any comments, questions about anything in general before we close? I think we have a good chance of actually wrapping this one up because we can go faster through those review ones. And it looks to me like actually fog is definitely dissipating by chapter 18. Not that everything is, that far back. Not that everything will be absolutely perfect, but it seems like that's quite good. So I commend you for that.
Now I got fog from the noun, so working backwards.
Noun fog. Well, that's a lot of usage. So yeah, you say, well, the fog is streaming back in. You can't forget certain things if you don't use them. But there, again, the key is you got to keep using your Greek regularly, and then it won't start to fade, and things will be familiar. Like in English, we don't forget nouns because we use them all the time. We speak this difficult language instead of this relatively easy language. Not that there's obvious work, but I think Greek is an easier language than English. So So we're here in Workbook Chapter 18, Track 2. I believe last time we got up to the translation section. If that sounds right to you, then we'll start with Hayes on Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek Workbook, Chapter 18, Track 2. Or Dua 2, English. Terrible.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Kai synagantai hoi apostoloi pros ton Iesun. And the apostles are being gathered to Jesus.
Okay, and the apostles are being gathered to Jesus. All right, agathos kakos.
Agathos.
Agathos, okay. Can you give me the parsing for synagantai, please?
That is third person, plural, middle passive, indicative of synago.
Okay, third person, plural, middle passive, indicative of synago. Okay, agathos kakos.
Agathos.
Agathos, okay. Now that is correct, that form is middle or passive. Now, and it's a present. So the form would be one or the other. Now, what was your translation of the verb again?
And the apostles are being gathered to Jesus.
Okay, so they are being gathered. So do you translate it as a middle or as a passive?
Passive.
Sure, you translate it as a passive. Well, I guess you could say it could be either one, which maybe that's what you're saying, but I would say then this is a present passive indicative third person plural contextually. So the answer key gave it a passive translation. What would a middle translation be for kai synagantai hoi apostoloi pros ton Iesun?
I don't think we've covered middle voice yet, have we?
Other than the deponents, it's interesting. The fourth edition, he talks about the non-deponent middles a bit earlier, but here in the third edition, he hasn't really got into it yet. But it's like a reflexive back on yourself idea. So it would be like the apostles gather themselves together to Jesus, which actually is, I think that's what the King James says, because this is Mark on hex triakonta, Mark 6:30. So notice there's no explicit word, themselves in this verse. But if this is a middle, it would be, it's not, what's the lexical form? I didn't ask you the lexical form. What's the lexical form of this word?
Synago.
Synago. So it's not a deponent because it doesn't have the my ending. It just has the omega. So middle would be, and the apostles gathered themselves together to Jesus. Passive, and the apostles were gathered to Jesus. And without any context, you really couldn't know which is the one or the other. I think contextually in Markon hex, gather themselves together to be better, but yeah. All right, that was good. So Hayes, that was Hayes. Any comments, questions on Hayes? Since you haven't been introduced to the non-deponent middle, really, it would be very reasonable for you just to assume it's passive since it's not deponent. But I think contextually mark it, it's actually middle. All right, let's go to Dua.
All right. Legusin alto dunamitha. They say to him, we are able.
Okay, they say to him, we are able. Agathos ekakos?
Agathos.
Agathos. Say to him, we are able. All right. And how could you parse those verbs for us?
So legusin would be a third person, plural, present, active, indicative, coming from lego, which means to say. And then dunamitha would be first person, plural, middle deponent, indicative, coming from dunamαι, meaning I am able.
All right, you guys. So they say to him, we are able. And maybe if you were to give it a present progressive sort of translation, you could say they are saying to him, like maybe they were saying this repeatedly. We wouldn't, but they say is fine. And without context, we wouldn't really know necessarily one way or the other. But that would certainly be a live option. Any comments, questions on Dua? All right, let's go to Trace.
Tota erkatai met auton ha Jesus. Then Jesus is coming with them.
Tata erkatai metaton. And then Jesus is. You said it was agathos?
Nigh.
Nigh. Okay. Then Jesus is coming with them. All right. And what is erkatai?
Third person singular middle passive deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι.
Which means?
I come.
I come or I go. Yeah, you go. So then Jesus is coming with them or going with them, something like that. All right, you get. Let's go to Thesaurus.
Hapu, Aimi, Ego, Humes, U, Dunasta, Elthane. Where I am, you are not able to go.
Where I am, you are not able to go. All right. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. By the way, humes, of course, you get that pretty early, I think. Maybe if you're doing track 2, I don't remember how they switched the order around right off the top of my head. Maybe I haven't introduced the humes yet, but all right, where I'm going, you are not able to go. Here, Ioannein hepta tesserus kai triakanta, John 7:34. And what is dunasta?
Dunasta would be second person. I think it's plural. Middle deponent, active indicative. Coming from dunamai.
All right, agathos ekakos for that.
Agathos.
Agathos, so you both agree it's a middle deponent active indicative.
Yeah, that sounds weird. I think it's middle deponent indicative.
Yeah, it can't be both middle and active. That's not going to work. So, yeah. So now in the present tense, the form is middle passive, and since it's deponent, you don't really know. It's just it ends up having that active sense. So present middle passive deponent indicative, second person plural. Dunamai, I'm able, and then elthane is to go. Where I am, ye are not able to go. So yeah, it is from dunamai. But what was your question?
The elthane comes from ἐρχομαι, right?
Oh, yes. Elthane does come from ἐρχομαι. It does. Okay. Yeah. You go. All right. Thesaurus, agathos. How about penta?
Aromai etoimasai topon humin. I go to prepare a place for you.
I go to prepare a place for you. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos, yeah. Familiar scripture, Ioannein decatesaurus dua, John 14:2. All right. What is the parsing for par UMI?
First person singular present middle deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι, which is I come, I go.
All right. Agathos ekakos for that.
Agathos.
You got that was good. Let's go on to hex.
Nun de pros se ἐρχομαι kai tauta lalo en to cosmo. But now I am coming to you, and these things I say in the world.
But now I am coming to you, and these things I say in the world. Okay, agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. All right. What is ἐρχομαι?
First person singular, middle deponent indicative, coming from ἐρχομαι, which means I come.
All right. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Okay. First person singular, middle deponent indicative or middle passive deponent indicative. From ἐρχομαι, I come or go. All right. How about lalo?
That is also a first person verb. That one is a present active indicative, which comes from lalo, meaning I say.
Okay, present active indicative, first singular from lalo, I say. Agathos ekakos?
I think it's laleo.
Oh, laleo. Lalo or laleo? Okay, what is your reason for laleo?
So I think that's how I memorize it.
Okay, that's how you memorize it. All right. Yeah, what's your reason for laleo?
Because I translated it in first person singular present active indicative.
Okay. All right. Well, it would still be that. Now, if the lexical form is laleo, what kind of verb would this be? Something starts with the letter C.
Contract.
Aha, contract verb. Is there any other evidence other than the fact that you might want to look at that in the lexicon, and it is laleo. So that's good. You go for that. So what other signs do we have here other than the fact the lexical form has that epsilon and this doesn't, so something's contracted? Do we have any other evidence that something is missing here?
Would the circumflex on the omega?
You got the circumflex. That circumflex is telling you that something is, epsilon is disappeared here. All right, good. So that was hex. All right. Any comments, questions on hex? Let's go to hepta.
Megar ectes Galileis ha Christos ἐρχεται. For surely Christ is not coming out of Galilee.
Okay, Megar ectes Galileis ha Christos ἐρχεται. For surely Christ is not coming out of Galilee. Nai eu.
Ooh,
Ooh, okay, why?
where did the surely come from?
Where did the surely come from?
The question mark at the end.
The question mark.
Question.
Okay. That's interesting. The surely came from the question mark. All right. Do you like that explanation?
Not particularly.
Not particularly? Okay. All right.
Because I translated it as, for is the Christ not coming from Galilee?
For is the Christ not coming from Galilee? Okay. Now, let's hold our thought there for a second. Let's just take care of a verb first. So the ἐρχεται, what is the parsing for the ἐρχεται?
Third person singular present middle deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι.
Third person singular present middle deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι, which means?
I come, I go.
All right, you go. So do either of you have with you, or I guess, I mean, typically when we're doing this, you should be just looking at the answer key. But do you remember the answer key, how the answer key translated it?
So the answer key reads, for the Christ is not coming from Galilee, right?
Yeah, so he's supplying that right. Why is he supplying the word right at the end?
That sounds like a temporary translation.
Yeah, that's pretty contemporary. Yeah, that's true. Do you see the note in the answer key?
Yeah, it says that they've added that at the end of the question because the question is expecting an answer of no, as it begins with may.
Yeah. So at least in the version of the answer key I have, it says adding, and then there's like quote marks at the end of the question is one way to communicate this expectation in English. It should have said something like adding quote right question mark is one way to communicate this. So it looks like there's a typo in there. The King James is more literal. It says, shall Christ come out of Galilee? So it doesn't add that right or the surely. I see you probably, were you thinking about the answer key when you supplied the surely?
I can't remember. It was a while ago.
Can't remember? Okay.
I was probably thinking, I was probably thinking of the King James translation, but obviously that's not the same, but it's still the same concept.
Okay. So if you say, shall Christ come out of Galilee, it's not as immediately obvious that the assumption of the answer is no. When you have a question with a may, it does assume a no answer, and a question with an oo assumes a yes answer. Now, that doesn't mean that will always be the answer. It could be you were assuming it and it's not the answer. But Greek does have that way to kind of differentiate the kind of shade of the question. So it is worth being aware of that, but I would tend to not supply a whole extra word just to kind of At least, like if I was translating the Bible to the language of some people group, I wouldn't supply word. Maybe if I'm preaching this passage and I'm explaining what it means, I might paraphrase it like that. But in terms of a translation, I probably wouldn't supply that extra word. But it is good to worth being aware of that may, oo sort of distinction. It's one other little thing that's nice to know from Greek. All right. Any other comments or thoughts on hepta there? All right. Well, let's do octo then.
Note it's a capitalization.
Okay, yeah. So there's only capitalization, capital P versus lowercase p. So go to that octo. Go ahead.
All right. Lege autois ha Jesus pistuite hati dunamai tauta poiesai legusin auto nai.
Okay, tuta poiesai legusin auto nai. All right. All right. And what's your translation?
Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They answer him, "Yes."
Hey, can you say it one more time?
Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They answer him, "Yes."
All right. Agathase kakos.
Kakos.
Kakos. Okay. Te.
I translate it as, "Are you believing that I am able to do this?"
Did you say for the clause here, the pistuita hadi dunamai tuta poiesai?
I said, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?"
Okay. Do you believe versus are you believing? Is that what the difference was?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the same
Translation,
thing. Okay.
pretty much the same thing.
Okay. So maybe that it could be fine. What was the parsing for pistuita, by the way?
Second person, singular, present, active, indicative. That doesn't feel right, but it comes from pistuo, which means to believe.
Okay, so his second person singular, present, active, indicative from pistuo, I believe, but it doesn't feel right. Do you have any comments on your autophosis feelings?
It's plural.
Oh, it's plural. Okay.
Yeah, that checks out.
Aha. So now it feels better. All right. So ye believe you plural that I'm able to do this. All right. What about the lege in the front?
Third person, singular, present, active, indicative, coming from Lego, which means to say.
All right. Did you translate it as a present tense?
Nope, I said Jesus said instead of says.
Uh-oh. It slipped by too. So yeah. I think lege is probably so familiar that it's easy to just like, here we go. But this is good. The fact that some of these common words are becoming super familiar to you is a good thing. And then this last part, what was your translation for the last part there? Legusin auto 9.
They answer him, yes.
They answer him yes. Okay. And you said nigh to that as well. Is that correct? Nigh. Okay. Let's see if
Or ooh, I'm sorry. Ooh. It's
okay.
Lego is
That word I just
Lego's I
translated.
am saying, not I am answering.
Unless I saw it in BDAG somewhere, I would tend to default to Lego as I say versus obviously he is answering, but Lego, I say or speak is what at least our basic definition in Mounce. So I probably would say they are saying to him, yes. All right, agathos. And legusin, what's the parsing for legusin?
Third person, plural, present, active, indicative, coming from Lego, which means to say.
All right, Yuga. All right, any other questions on octo? All right, well, let's go to enea.
Kai gar echo anthropos emi hupo ekusion kai lego tuto peruthetai kai peruetai kai alo erku kai erkatai kai dulo kai to dulo mu poieson tuto kai poieo.
Tuta. And try to say them. This is tuta, not tuto. Just that'll help you remember that omega omicron distinction. But it's okay. Don't worry about it. And I pointed out on my notes too that after the exousion, there's actually in the verse itself there's a space. There's things that are missing between the kaigar ego anthropos emihuba exousion and then the kai lego tuto kai taloipa and the rest. So he's of course supporting this in the workbook. But all right, what is your translation?
For I am also a man under authority, and I am saying to this one, go, and he is going, and to another, come, and he is coming, and to my servant, do this, and he is doing.
All right. Nai eu?
Nai.
Nai, okay, he says yes. You think this is good. All right. All right, Yuga. Lego again, of course, is present active indicative, first singular. There, kind of Lego tuto. How about the paruatai? What is the paruatai?
Third person singular, present middle deponent indicative of paruomai.
All right, third person singular, present middle passive deponent indicative from paruomai. I go, proceed, come. And remember, the aorist middle and the aorist passive are different. Present are the same, so present middle passive deponent indicative here. Because of the deponency, it doesn't make a difference whether it's middle or passive. All right, how about the poie at the end there?
It's third person singular, present active indicative, poieo.
All right, Yuga. Why does it have the circumflex over the iota?
There's a contraction with the omega.
It's contraction from the poieo. Contract verb, right. Poieo is a contract verb. All right, Yuga. Any comments or questions on Nanea? Are these seeming pretty easy to you?
I wouldn't say easy. I would say more comfortable.
More comfortable. Okay, well, hey, that's good. It means fog is moving. That is good. This is good.
Enough to where I can remember why I did things at least.
You can remember why you did things. Well, that's good too.
Well, because I did them this past week.
Oh, that does help if you could remember why. Well, let's do Deca.
Kai epin alte ha angelos korayu. Hagar pathen erke kai pu poreu
Parue.
Kai epin apa prosopu saras tes kurios. And the angel of the Lord said to her, Hagar, from where are you coming? And where are you going? And she answered, from the face of Sarah, the mistress.
All right, Agathos Ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos, okay. All right, what's ape in there at the front?
Third person singular, aorist, active indicative, coming from Lego, which means to say.
All right, Lego. How does Lego change into apin?
It's a second aorist, so changing the root.
Yuga, yeah. So second aorist has a different root here, so it does not. The present tense stem does not change into the aorist tense stem, which you want to think about everything coming from the root anyway. But so yes, Yuga. So just obviously completely different here. All right.
So we're not supposed to have aorist. This is exercise 18.
Yes, but remember that apin, I think, is a common enough word that I believe he introduced it earlier somewhere.
I just don't want to hear aorist anymore.
You don't like what?
He's not right now.
You don't like aorist right now. Okay.
Too. It's like how we renamed our math classes here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh, you renamed your math classes. What did you name them?
Well, it used to be Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, and now it's Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3.
Oh, wow. Well, they have to learn how to count a little bit higher with doing it that way. So maybe that will, I mean, in a public high school, I mean, counting up to 3 might be a challenge.
Well, but they take that after taking math 6, math 7, and math 8. So,
Oh, yeah, that could be confusing. When I went to high school, in addition to walking uphill both ways, but I went to this unusual high school that had a 6-day rotation. So instead of having the same things every Monday, same things every Tuesday, same things every Wednesday, it was every 6 days you had the same classes. So you had to remember whether it was a day 1 or day 2 or day 3. Kind of confusing, but that's what they wanted to do. So that's what they did. So yeah, oh well. Okay, so what is ἐρχε here? What's the parsing for ἐρχε?
second person singular, middle deponent indicative, coming from ἐρχομαι, which means to come.
Yuga. Second singular, it's a middle passive deponent indicative from ἐρχομαι, I come or go. What does kurios mean at the end there? Saros tastes kurios. He gave you a little note saying you can guess what it means based on its gender.
I translated it as mistress because it's the feminine form of the word kurios.
Yuga, yeah. It's like feminine of kurios. So whatever the female equivalent to lord, mistress, it's fine. Good question. I guess if you're wandering around in the wilderness too, it's not a bad question to ask where you're coming and where you're going to. All right, so that was from Genesis, Hekai Deka Octo, Genesis 16:8. Any other questions on Deka? All right, let's go on. You're doing a great job to end Deka.
Aistain oikian ἐρχόμεθα oidamen gar hati ha Jesus tois aklois eke lale. We are going in the house, for we knew that Jesus is speaking to the crowd there.
Can you say it one more time, please?
We are going in the house, for we know that Jesus is speaking to the crowd there.
All right. Agathase kakos.
Kakos,
okay. Te.
aklois has a plural ending.
Oh, okay. Aklos is a plural ending. Crowds. Now that was good. Yuga for that. Aklos is plural, so I would say crowds with a plural. But the answer he actually said crowd. But crowds with a plural is better. So Yuga, you're doing so well that you can correct the answer key. So this is very impressive.
How would there be crowds in a house? Because it seems to me like if it was in a house, you would say it's one crowd.
Side men on the other.
Yes, groups.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been a big house. I don't know the answer to that question. Ask Mounce. He made it up. So, but it is still plural. So however you want to explain that, it is tois aklois is plural. However, the house managed to fit the crowds inside. It would be easier in North Carolina than in California because as big houses are more common over there. So it would be an easier thing to do.
Parts of California, they're very, very common.
Well, California is a big place. So you're right. There are parts of it, but pretty much anywhere houses are more expensive here. But there are certainly parts where they are more affordable than other parts. That is the case. Anything else that you thought was or kakos besides the achlois?
Ace I translated as into instead of in. But that
okay. So ace is into versus what would be the preposition that you would default as a translation of in for?
In.
Epsilon. Yeah, so n. Epsilon nu. So yeah, ace. I'm not saying you can never translate ace as in. It's a very common preposition, 1,767 times, I think. But yeah, into is what you would default to for ace. And since we are coming or going into the house, that certainly fits very well, that we're coming into the house. All right, Yuga, give me the parsing for the ἐρχόμεθα and the oidamen, please.
ἐρχόμεθα first person plural, present active indicative. No, what am I saying? That's first person plural, middle passive deponent indicative of ἐρχομαι, of I come, I go. And what was the other
All
one?
right. Why did you correct it? Why did you say it was middle passive in form instead of active in form?
Because it's not active.
That's a good reason. Okay, that it is not active is a good reason. How did you know it was not active?
The ending is not active.
Aha, the ending. Yes, you've got that secondary ending on there. So you got very good reason. All right, and the œrχομαι.
Wait a minute. That's first person plural, present active indicative of oikos. No, I cannot remember the word.
Okay. Do you agree that it is present active indicative? You said first plural, right? Is that what you said?
I agree.
You agree. So
Yeah,
you both think
plural.
it's present active indicative first plural. Okay. Do you know what the lexical form is?
Oida.
Oida. Where's the omega?
I didn't follow the alpha here.
Oh, it just went away. Now, this is tricky because you haven't learned the perfect yet. But notice here in BBG, in this chapter 17, it says oida is a different type of word. It actually is another tense, the perfect, but it functions as if it were a present. And then it gives you all the forms. Oida, oidos, oida, oidamen, oidata, oidasen. So why is he telling you this when you haven't learned the perfect yet? Well, knowing is just like in English, know is a common word. So it is in the New Testament as well. There's lots of knowing going on. So this is actually, it has a present meaning, but it's actually a perfect. So the parsing is actually perfect active indicative, first plural, from oida, which means I know, understand. So not present, but perfect is what you'd want to say for the parsing because it is a perfect tense. There are very few verbs like percentage-wise where it's, a perfect, but it really doesn't act like a perfect. It acts just like a present, but oid is one of them. So, and do either of you know what the kind of basic idea of the perfect is? If you don't, it's okay. We haven't got to it yet.
I should, but it's been a while since I've
Completed action.
Complete? Okay, that's not a bad
I
idea.
am guessing.
You're guessing. Okay, hey, that's not so. Present, we think of that like if you think of the present as like a line, right? Ongoing action. Aorist is like that dot. So snapshot summary. So the perfect is like a dot with a line. It's like a snapshot or summary action with results that continue. Not the action itself continuing necessarily, but the results are continuing. So kind of like, let's say that if I was going to describe a past action and I said, I married my wife. Well, that was a completed action and there are continuing results, namely that I'm still married. So that's the summary idea of the perfect. Now you say, oida, now this is maybe somewhat speculative. The main point for you to know is that it's a perfect, even though it acts like a present. But if you think, what are the results that continue of knowing something? Well, that you continue to know them, right? So you can kind of see how snapshot past action with continuing results ends up functioning just as like a present, because when you knew something and you continue to know it, the result is you know it now. But that isn't that important. The point is that oida is actually a perfect tense, not a present tense, but it acts like a present tense. All right, Yuga, that was good to mention that. Any other comments or questions on Endeka?
That's what happens when we're born again. There's immediate results, but also results that continue.
Amen. They are. And actually, maybe we'll get to this later, but the tense that's frequently used for scripture when it says it is written, and then the verse comes, it is written. It is written is a perfect tense because the writing of the scripture was a snapshot action and the results continue because God preserves his word. And so actually, it isn't the first argument I would go to, but it's absolutely consistent with and would support that God perfectly preserves the words that he gave, because they were given at one point in time and the results of that continue. So that it is written, it was written in the past with the results that continue and we still have them. So sometimes people who deny preservation says, well, that's just the authority of them that continues, not the words themselves. But, well, if it's not the same words, it's not authoritative anymore. If I just write something in there that I make up, well, where did the authority go? It's not authoritative. It's actually bad. It's evil to do that. So just throwing that out there for the perfect tense. Different than the English perfect. So we don't have a tense that's just like the perfect. All right. Anything else before we go to dodeca? New birth too. Yeah. When you're born again, there are certainly results that continue. But you would expect that when God adopts you and gives you a new nature, yeah, it's going to affect things. What a blessing. All right. Let's do dodeca.
Ha de Jesus, ἀποκρινόμαι, tois, ponerois, hati, hupa, ton, piston, agapatai. And I translated it as, but Jesus answers the wicked ones that he is being loved by faith.
Okay, but Jesus answers the wicked ones that he is being loved by faith. All right. Agathos ekakos.
Kakos.
Kakos? Okay. Te.
Because I translated it as, but Jesus is answering the evil that by the believers he's being loved.
Okay, but Jesus answers the evil that by the believers he is being loved. Okay. So what are the differences there between those two? What are the kind of the words we're trying to figure out what's going on with here?
I guess
Piston,
it's, yeah, piston.
We got the piston. Okay. Anything else that's a little bit different?
he translated ponerois a little differently from mine.
Okay, so the ponerois and then the piston are kind of the two things that sound a bit different there. Let's parse our verbs, and then we're going to parse those two. So what's the parsing for ἀποκρινόμαι and the agapatai?
Third person, singular, middle deponent, indicative, coming from ἀποκρινόμαι, which means to answer.
And since the accent is over the yod, it's ἀποκρινόμαι, but it's fine. So ἀποκρινόμαι. All right. Answer, present, middle, deponent, indicative, third singular. Agathos ekakos for that.
Agathos.
Agathos. All right, you go. And there's your answer instead of the Lego. You got your ἀποκρινόμαι there. And how about the agapatai?
Third person, singular, passive, indicative, coming from agapao, meaning to love.
All right. I don't think, did you say whether it was present or aorist or imperfect or whatever?
I did not. Thought I left something out. Present, passive.
Present. Okay. So present, passive, indicative, third singular from agapao. I love. Agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. All right. Yuga. So, okay. So we've got our verbs taken care of. So this ponerois, what's the parsing for the ponerois?
That is plural, accusative, because it's the direct object of ἀποκρινόμαι. So I translated it as masculine.
Okay, so you're saying contextually it's masculine, so it's an adjective, it could be masculine, feminine, or plural. And it's accusative and plural. And what would be the lexical form?
Poneros.
Okay, poneros. Okay. Nai eu.
No.
Nai, okay. So you both agree that ponerois is accusative. What's the tois doing? Is that an accusative article in front of it?
Well, it's got to have an upsilon to be accusative, doesn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, what do you think about that?
It's dative.
Oh, it's dative. It's changed from accusative to dative. Okay, so this is our article's our friend. So it's a dative article. Ponerois has an ois at the end.
Yeah.
That looks a whole lot like that article.
Yeah, I got the dative and the accusative. flipped.
Aha. The dative and the accusative. So it's dative plural then.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it still the direct object of ἀποκρινome?
Can't ἀποκρινome take a direct object in the dative?
Oh, okay. Well,
There's
you
a
tell
couple
what
of
do you think
verbs
about
do
that?
I'm sorry?
Foss Bradley, do you agree that ἀποκρινome can take a dative direct object?
No.
No? Okay. Let's see. Hey, look at that. There you go. Yeah. Good job, you guys. So good job for remembering that ἀποκρινome can take a direct object in the dative. So that is exactly what's happening. So it's functioning as if it were an accusative, you could say, because it just takes the dative direct object. But yeah, so Jesus answered these people. So what were the two translations that we had for the tois panerois?
I translated that as the wicked ones.
The wicked ones, and then what was the alternative?
I originally said the evil, but I changed that the evil ones because it's plural.
Oh, okay. So the evil or the evil ones. Of the types of uses of the adjective, what is the name for this one where you've got an article in front of it and basically what you both translated it as? What use of the adjective is that?
Yeah, I don't remember.
But you're treating the adjective as if it were a different part of speech, and properly so because of that article in front of it. What are you treating that adjective like? What is it?
Is it subjective?
Oh, good. Yes, substantival. It's a substantival use of the adjective. So it's not necessarily evil. Is that, of course, we know in the 21st century, we know evil is subjective because there's no such thing as right or wrong, of course. Except if you say that sodomy's wrong, then that is just terrible. But other than that, it's a substantival use of the adjective. So it's function. The adjective is acting like a noun. So Jesus answered to the evil ones or the evil. And if you said it's masculine, you could also say the evil men. So he answered the evil men, he answered the evil ones, something like that. All right, you guys. So that's a substantive use of the adjective. And how about the tone piston? What were our options for that? Our two options that we were discussing.
I translated it as faith.
Faith. So we love by faith. Okay.
The believers.
The believers. Okay. So
Or
what
the
would
ones, be the ones who believe.
the ones who believe or the believing ones? Okay. So what would be our justification for the one or the other here?
Well, mine didn't make sense when I translated it that way because then you have Jesus being loved by an impersonal noun.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas he's being loved, he has to be loved by people. So by believers or by the faithful makes more sense than just by faith.
Okay. Whether it makes sense is always something to keep in mind. So if it doesn't make sense, that might be an indication that something is going wrong. Okay. Is there anything kind of grammatically that would suggest that this is something like the believing ones or the believing men or the believing people, something like that?
Well, the hupo would be by, right? So by, it's got to be by something.
Okay, so we've got a hupa. That sounds like maybe something personal. Okay. Would it be different if there were no article?
Yes.
Yeah, so that article, just like the tois panerois, kind of the article really makes you think, okay, this is a substantive use of the adjective. Same thing here, the tone piston. If you just said loved by faith, well, where did the article go? How is that article getting translated? So the article would say, okay, these are believing ones, believing people. Piston, can you give me the parsing for piston?
That's a genitive plural, masculine or feminine. It could be feminine or neuter for that matter, but masculine makes the most sense. From pistos.
Yeah, piston, with no context, it could be masculine, feminine, or neuter. Here, it wouldn't really make sense to be a neuter because things don't have faith or believe. But, I mean, it could be a group of women, I suppose, but a mixed group or a group of men, something like that is probably more likely. So, all right. Yuga. Panerois, could it be on its own something other than masculine? Tois panerois.
Neuter.
That could be
No.
neuter too.
Yeah, neutered.
Yuga. So that could be neuter as well. But that doesn't really make as much sense that Jesus answered the evil things.
At least not in that century.
No. Yeah, he's probably, well, I don't know. I mean, if people can talk to their computer, please hurry up. Why are you going so slow? You could probably talk to your plow too, or your whatever. I guess it could be possible, but certainly not as likely that it's a neuter than a masculine. All right, so that was dodeca, so yuga for that. Let's go to decatrace.
Kai erkantai oi aleloi eiston topon ekinon kai lalusen tus lagus eis ta hota tu aklu. And I translated that as, and the angels are going in the place, and they are saying the words in the ear of the crowd.
All right. There's a little bit of a longer one there. So why don't you say the translation one more time?
I said, and the angels are going in the place, and they are saying the words in the ear of the crowd.
All right. Agathos kakos.
Because.
Okay. Te.
So I translated it as, and the angels are coming or going. That either or is fine there. And then I said into that place, whereas Bradley said in the place. And then the rest I said, and saying words into the ears, plural, of the crowd.
So eiston topon ekanon, in the place or into that place. What would you think, Adelphos Bradley, about that?
Oh, we said that ace was better to be into rather than in.
Yuga, yeah. So into is probably a better default translation for ace. Not that ace could never ever be translated as in, but yeah, ace. Let's default to into for ace. Okay, how about the place versus that place?
It would be that place because of the ekinon.
Okay, so the ekanon, that place. Yeah, I think that the ekanon it might have disappeared in your translation.
When I wrote it down, I said in the place that and they, but when I read it, I left out the that because that didn't make any sense.
Okay.
For some reason, my word order got mixed up there. But now I know why I wrote that.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, into that place. On top on ekanon. All right, Yuga. And then was the lagus translated as singular by one translation and then plural of the other, or I don't remember what happened in the second half.
No, the logos wasn't. It was the hota that I translated as plural.
Into the ear or into the ears?
It's plural, and the crowds is plural.
Aha. So the ota is plural and the crowds is plural. Okay, agathos egakos?
I agree that ota is plural, but aklu is a singular genitive.
Oh, okay. Do you agree? He thinks the first one's plural, second one is singular. What's a noun again?
Exactly. I'm sticking with plural. I think two is plural, isn't it?
Not in the genitive.
Singular. Okay, you're right. Yeah, tone is singular, two is plural. Oh, that's backwards.
Whoa.
I mean, other way.
Yeah. Two is singular, and that own is so yeah. So this is one crowd, and the article, of course, is your friend again. This is the genitive singular article. This is what's the parsing of this article?
Ta. That's neuter plural. The ta.
Okay, neuter plural. In what case?
That's accusative. No.
Accusative. Could it be anything else other than accusative? Accusative plural neuter.
Couldn't that be nominative or accusative?
Yuga. The form on its own could be either nominative or accusative because that's what the neuters do. The neuter plurals, you have that same form. Now here, is it accusative or neuter, and why? Accusative or nominative? Yeah. Okay. It is accusative. Why? Tip.
Because that's what makes sense in the sentence, in the ears.
Okay, it makes sense in the sentence. Okay, now it does make sense to say into the ears. Any other reason why ta is accusative?
The angeloi is the nominative. The oi angeloi.
So yes, this is nominative up here. Okay, that's another reason. What's the connection of ta ota to the preposition ace?
The object of the preposition.
Aha, it's the object of the preposition. What case does ace take for the object of its preposition?
Accusative.
Always accusative. Yeah, so we know it's accusative because it's the object of the preposition ace. So into the ears. And then ota, he gives you the lexical form here. Us, otas, ta, for ear. So this is into the ears of the crowd. By the way, this is the LXX text of 1 Samuel 11:4. And the LXX, they call them the books of Kings. 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 3 Kings, 4 Kings. So this is Basileon, Hace, Endecatessares, which is 1 Samuel 11:4. And it's adjusted a little bit. So in the actual text in the LXX, it is actually like the angeloi here are actually human messengers that are going and talking to people, because angelos could be just a messenger as well as God's heavenly messengers, the angels. But without any context, it's perfectly reasonable for you to assume these are heavenly angels. So, all right. So why don't you give me the whole thing one more time? Full translation.
And the angels are going in that place or into that place, and they are saying the words in the ears of the crowd.
All right. Yeah, try to think about that ace as the into. So into that place and into the ears of the crowd versus in both times. You want to try to default to that. All right, you got any other comments or questions on Decatrace? All right, well, let's try Decatessaurus then.
Uk, asen lagoi, hoti, uk, akuantai, pi, phonai, auton, which I translated as, the words are not, since their voices are not being heard.
Okay, the words are not because their voices are not being heard. All right, agathase kakos.
Kakos.
Kakos, okay. Ti?
I said they are not the words because they are not hearing the sound of him.
They are not words because they are not hearing the sound of him. Okay. So what did you not like about Adolphus's Jody's translation?
It was different than mine.
Okay, well, all right. Well, is there anything wrong with it, or is it just different?
Could you say it again?
Sure. The words are not, since their voices are not being heard.
Well, I see that I said of him, and that's plural, so I already see one spot where I'm wrong.
Okay, okay. So the outtone, you had said his, and he said their, I think.
I said the sound of him, and it's supposed to be them.
Okay, so the sound of them rather than the sound of him. Okay. And what's the parsing for outtone? Since we're on the outtone, what's the parsing for the outtone?
Genitive, plural.
It's genitive, plural.
It could be masculine, feminine, or neuter, but contextually, masculine or feminine makes more sense.
Okay, all right. What's the antecedent for outtone?
Hi, phoni.
That's what the outtone is modifying. It is the phoni of them. Okay. Now, outtone is a pronoun.
Okay, so the antecedent, that'd be the subject of asen.
Okay, and which word is that? Or are you saying it's not a specific word? You're saying it's an implied subject?
Yeah, it's an implied subject.
Okay. Okay.
Although I translated logoi as the subject of asen.
Does asen have an implied subject, or is logoi the subject of asen?
Is this one of those cases where the word order actually matters?
Word, is there anything that would tell us other than word order? What case is logoi?
Nominative, plural.
Yes, nominative, and it is plural. Okay, so it's a nominative plural from
It is
logos.
missing the, it doesn't have an article.
Okay, nominative plural, no article. And logos, is it masculine, feminine, or neuter?
Masculine.
It's masculine. So it at least could be the antecedent for the autones. It's possible. So if it's asin, does asin take an accusative direct object?
No.
No. What does it take instead?
Predicate nominative?
Predicate nominative, yeah. So without any context, there really isn't anything that would let you know for sure whether it's words are not or they are not words, something like that. You just got to figure it out based on context. And here we don't have any context. So it could either be they are not words or words are not. So yes, that's a good question. So that can kind of go either way there. What's the parsing for the akuantai?
Third person, plural, present, passive, indicative, coming from akuo, which means to hear.
Okay, akuo. And is there an express subject for that verb?
Hyphonai.
Yeah, hyphonai. And there, since akuantai is a normal verb, it's not something that takes a predicate nominative. Hyphonai being nominative has to be the subject of the akuantai. All right, so I think we've broken down pretty much everything in there. So other than we found out that autone, we would want to make sure that's translated as a plural. Why don't you both read your translation one more time, and then we'll see if there's anything else that we need to reconcile here.
So my translation is, the words are not, since their voices are not being heard.
I don't even understand my translation. I don't like my own translation now anymore.
Okay, well, what was it? Well, change the autone to plural, and then why don't you give it to us? It's kind of a weird sentence here.
They are not the words because they are not hearing the sound of them.
They are not the words because they are not hearing the sound of them.
Adding a lot into that sentence.
Yeah, now the phonai is plural, so you wouldn't want to say sound. It'd be sounds or voices. And is there an article on logoi?
No.
No. So at least you want to default to not maybe the words, but just words. Yeah, it's an unusual sentence. I think that the translation was fine. Whether it's they are not words or words are not is going to be, you just kind of have to do the best you can with that part, I think. The actual LXX sentence is uk asin laliai uda lagoi on uhi akuantai hi phonai auton. So this is the speeches or the words uda lagoi uk asi. They are not. So they are no speeches or words. Hon uhi akuantai hi phonai auton, which their voices are not heard. So, the creation is crying out to all the earth. And that makes a lot of sense in context. So his one, he adjusted it so that you understood what it was saying, but maybe got a little bit different here. All right. Notice, by the way, in case you weren't aware, that the LXX will make the title verse 1. So, Ace to telos, psalmos to Dawid, title makes it verse 1. So then the verses are 1 off there.
That makes sense because the titles are inspired.
Yeah, the title is part of the psalm. Yes, given by inspiration. Well, I mean, it's just numbering, so however you want to do it, but it would be bad to take the titles out. Don't do that. All right. So any questions on Decatessares? All right. By the way, the LXX is hoi hebdame kanta, the 70. Hoi hebdame kanta. So they called it the 70, which of course that's what LXX is, right? The 70. So if you want to refer to, you want to say even a little more in language, you can refer to it as hoi habdame on top instead of the LXX. Not necessarily if you're like preaching or teaching Sunday school or something like that. Maybe not hoi habdame at that point. But when you're talking to other independent Baptist scholars, you can call it hoi habdame on top. So
we can sound charismatic. I mean,
yeah, speaking tongues.
Well, no, this is a known language. These are real words. This is real words. So and it'd be nice if you just learned it miraculously, but it isn't happening that way. So, all right. Well, let's go to Decapenta.
Genea peruatai kai genea erkatai kai hege ton iona estekan. And I translated that this generation is going and this generation is coming, and the land in the eternity remains.
This generation is going and this generation is coming, and the land, you said, into eternity remains, right?
I said in, but I'm gonna all of my aces, I've been translating them in, and they need to be into.
Okay, so we're gonna make that into eternity remains. All right. Agathos Ekakos.
Bradley, you said this generation?
Yes. Yeah.
Where did the this come from?
I don't know. Let me look at it. If you didn't do this, it would just be generation is coming and generation is going.
So we could put an A there.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, because remember, Greek does not have an indefinite article like English. Greek has an article. Latin does not have an article. Greek does have an article. I think articles are really useful. So I like having articles. I think it's one way that Greek is more specific and better than Latin. But of course, maybe I'm biased. I teach Greek, and I'm sure that Latin patristics and maybe a lot of the Protestants that learn Latin would disagree. But I like having an article. I think it's very useful. Even in something like John 1:1, the word was God. Having that article in that phrase is really, really useful. But anyway, yeah. So you could say, but there's no indefinite article. So you could say a generation is coming and a generation is going. Would that be better than saying this generation?
I mean, there's no hutos in the sentence, or autos in this case.
Yeah, yuga. So there really isn't a word for this, and you don't want to just supply a this just because it's, it sounds good. If you just have a non-articular noun like that, no. If you need to supply a because there's no indefinite article, that's fine. So yeah, a generation would be fine, but you probably wouldn't want to supply a this without a real good contextual reason. All right, Yuga, so that's good. Why don't you read the translation one more time?
A generation is going and a generation is coming, and the land into the eternity remains.
Okay. Any other things that you think are kakos, or do you think the rest of that is agathos?
I don't have any problems with the rest of it.
Okay. All right. He has no problems with the rest of it. Okay. Well, that's good.
Comes and goes in my translation.
Yeah, coming and going for the par uamai, it's going to be whatever you think fits better with the context there. What's the parsing for the par uatai?
Third person, singular, present, middle, passive, deponent, indicative of peruamai. I come, I go.
All right, Yuga. And how about the ἐρχεται?
That would be the same. Third person, singular, present, middle, passive, deponent, indicative of ἐρχομαι.
All right.
The first one is peruamai. The second one is ἐρχεται, but the other stuff's the same.
So yeah, different verbs, obviously, but all the parsing is the same. Okay, Yuga. And Iona, can you give me the same information for Iona?
It's a noun. So ton Iona, that's accusative singular of Ionas.
Accusative singular, and how do you know? It's a real nice, easy way to remember that it's accusative singular if you're trying to remember looking at the ending and you're a little bit befuddled here. What would be a nice little crutch for you?
The article ton.
Yeah, you guys. So you got that article. This is accusative singular article, so that is a really nice thing there. So you're not sure about the lexical form. Any help on the lexical form here?
The Ionas?
What do you think, Adolphos, Jody, Ionos?
I don't remember the lexical form for that.
Don't remember. Okay. First, we have ion ionos ha, which is
Oh.
age or eternity. And that's where we get the idioms eis ton iona and eis tas ionon ton ionon. So this is into the age, and this is into the ages of ages. And he says they both mean forever. The King James would translate this as forever and translate this as forever and ever. You can see that's kind of sounds stronger, into the ages of ages versus into the age. So we have ion ionos ha, and then we do also have ionos, which is an adjective meaning eternal. So is this the adjective here, ionos, or is it the noun ion?
It's noun.
Ionos ha. Okay, it's the noun. Yeah, so the lexical form, it's ion. Since it's this idiomatic, eis ton iona has that forever sense to it. This is one place where actually you could say, well, I'm translating ace as for here, but into the age or forever would be fine. But he gives, you should remember that he gives eternal for the adjective ionos, but for ion, he actually, well, he says eternity, so I guess, but age or eternity, we have nouns here. All right. All right, any other comments, questions? Decapenta. In Hoi Habdemekanta, the 7 in the LXX, the name of the book sounds like our English name, Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes in Greek, while in Hebrew it's Koheleth, which doesn't really sound much like Ecclesiastes, but that's okay. And gay can be either earth or land, so the land remains or the earth remains, whichever is fine. All right, let's go to Hekaideka.
Cardiagar, pistuatai, ace, dikaiosunen, stomati de homologatai, ace, soterion. Which I translated as, for in the heart he believes unto righteousness, and in the mouth he confesses into salvation.
Okay, say it one more time.
For in the heart he believes unto righteousness, and in the mouth he confesses into salvation.
Okay, Agathos Ekakas.
I translated it as, for in the heart it is being believed into righteousness, and with the mouth it is being confessed into salvation.
Okay, so what are the differences there?
Active versus passive.
For the verbs. So we're translating the verbs actively or passively. And so what is the parsing for pistuatai?
It comes from pistuo, doesn't it?
It does come from pistuo.
So that should be passive.
Okay. So what is it? It's passive. What's the rest of it?
It's a third person, singular, present, passive, indicative, coming from pistuo.
Yeah, you go. So third person, singular, present, passive, indicative, pistuo, which is I believe. Okay, have faith in, trust. How about the homologatai?
I would guess that it comes from homologo.
What would the parsing be?
Third person, present, passive, indicative,
Singular, plural?
singular.
So third person, singular, present, passive, indicative, and he's guessing, you said homologo?
I guess it could be homologeo,
Okay.
but
Homologeo or
not a word I'm
homologo?
familiar with.
Yeah, we
Okay.
haven't learned that word yet.
Yes, this is because these are additional exercises. This is actually a verb that is not in Mounce at all. Now, homologeo versus homologo, what would be the difference in the type of verb that would be? And of course, yeah, I know you don't know the verb yet, but
If its ending is epsilon omega, then we're going to end up with a contract verb.
you go. Does anything in here that would make it you think it's a contract verb?
The circumflex over the iota.
Aha. So yes. So very good. So the lexical form is actually homologeo. And of course, if you looked it up under homologeo and there was nothing there, it wouldn't be that far back to get to homologeo. But yes, so this is from homologeo. And what does that mean?
To confess.
Yeah. So homologeo, to confess. And so that was good. All right. On the stomati, he tells you it's dative singular, the word meaning mouth, stoma. So the plants have the stomata on them when those things that let the oxygen in and out. All right. Any other thoughts on the translation other than the verbs being passive versus active?
It definitely matters when you read the verse, what the verse means.
Okay, sure. Makes a difference. It's a little bit unusual here. So I mentioned that it's from homologeo. So that'd be another way you could tell it's homologeo, because I actually told you in your notes. And if you look in BDAG, it's a little bit of an unusual construction. We're not going to read the whole entry of homologeo and pistuo because they're big and I want to get through this. But it says it's an absolute passive stomati homologetai. And he says the idea is with a mouth confession is made. So like an instrumental idea with the mouth, it is confessed, something like that. And then on the cardia, but he says with a mouth confession is made is how BDAG translates it. And then BDAG also on cardia pistuitai says with or in, so the dative here for cardia, the heart men believe, and he says that Jesus is raised from the dead. So a little bit unusual construction there. And there's a useful commentary in the book of Romaius that I gave you an excerpt here from Moo's commentary on Romans, kind of a standard scholarly commentary by a charismatic scholar. He said, the two verbs in this verse, pistuitai and homologetai, are third-person singular passive. It is possible to supply as the subjects to these verbs the objects of the comparable verbs in verse 9, that Jesus is Lord is believed, that God raised him from the dead is confessed. But he says this is awkward. It's better to think Paul uses the passive to connote an impersonal nuance. One believes, one confesses, it is believed, it is confessed under righteousness, giving to the verse's summary and principal character. So that's what he thinks, and a little bit unusual, and at your point of Greek knowledge, you wouldn't necessarily be thinking all of that, but that's an illustration where a decent commentary can be helpful, or just looking at what BDAG says can be helpful on it. And the confession is public confession of Christ before men. It's like where you confess him with your mouth in Matthew 10, 32, 33. We confess Christ with our mouths in baptism when we confess our faith. We confess Christ with our mouths in evangelism and in worship. So by faith, we get the imputation of Christ's righteousness. The confession is said to be unto soteria, which is usually ultimate salvation in Romans, not justification. Like in Romans 5, it says, we are now justified. We shall be saved from wrath through him. So there, the shall be saved is talking about glorification, when we're glorified with the Lord. And I believe it's the same thing here. With a heart you believe unto righteousness, you get righteousness right away. You're justified right away. And the confession with the mouth is unto ultimate salvation. So because you have a new heart, you're going to confess Christ with your mouth, and you're going to receive ultimate salvation, rather than it being a second prerequisite to justification. So in other words, if you believe in your heart, that's nice, but unless you also say certain words with your mouth, you're not justified. I don't think that's the point at all in the context here. It's very reasonable that when people are repenting of their sins, they would cry out to God. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I don't actually think Romans 10, 9, and 10 is even about that at all. I think it's nothing to do with a sinner's prayer. It's actually saying that when you believe in your heart, you get righteousness, and then you confess with your mouth, and that is what you expect of somebody who's going to get ultimate salvation. He's going to enter the kingdom. And I think in verse 9, the mouth is mentioned before the heart, because he's quoting from Deuteronomy where it's mentioned before. But the actual order in time is in verse 10, where you believe with the heart, you get righteousness, and then with the mouth, you confess Christ unto ultimate salvation. All right, so just throw that in. Certainly a very commonly used verse, and we want to make sure we understand what it's saying. Any comments or questions on that verse there? So the cardia, What did you say with the cardia and the stomati?
I said in the heart.
In the heart. Okay.
and
How about the
in
stomati?
In the mouth.
Okay, in the heart, in the mouth. What did you say, Adolphus Bradley? Did you say in or with, or what did you say?
I said in the heart, and then I said with the mouth.
Okay, in the heart and with the mouth. So in or with, both of these words are in what case?
Dative.
They're both dative. So could either in or with be justified for a dative?
Yeah.
They could. It's whether it's locative or instrumental idea. So whether it's idea of in your heart, the location, or instrumentally with the heart, both of those could be justified contextually. Same thing with the mouth. And so it would just be whatever you think fits the context better. All right, Yuga, let's say you are translating this and you're thinking, well, this passive seems kind of strange. What's going on with that? Something that you can do if you own an electronic version of BDAG, let's say you go to Romans 10:10 here, and you're trying to figure out, well, what's going on with this? Here's pistuo. This passage seems kind of strange. Something you can do, you can go up to the top and you could search for, obviously you read the whole entry is certainly something you can do, but you can actually search for Romans 10:10 and see, and it says there's 9 hits. So there's 9 places where the lexicon references Romans 10. So here, this is obviously not in that entry. It's talking about a different word in the verse. Romans 9 through 11, that's not very useful. But here, the lexicon says, comments on the homologenes soterion. Okay, has a little comment on it there. And then here, it also says, then this is the entry on homologeo. It's this absolute passive with the mouth confession is made. And then here it tells you about the cardia pistuitai and the entry on pistuo, with or in the heart men believe it. And so that's what the lexicon does. So sometimes you can actually search the lexicon for a specific verse reference if you see something that seems weird, and that could be a way you could get something useful. Okay, let's go to heptakai.
Kai apen ha hamer ha presbutes pu porue kai pothen arche. And the old man spake, where are you going, and from where did you begin?
Okay. Agathos Kakos?
Kakos on the translation of ἐρχομαι.
Okay. What's the parsing for ἐρχομαι?
Second person, singular, present, middle, passive, deponent, indicative of ἐρχομαι.
Second person singular, present, middle passive, deponent, indicative of ἐρχομαι. Okay, meaning I come or go. Okay. And how did you translate it?
Where are you going, and where did you begin?
Where did you begin? Okay, so would begin be a good translation for ἐρχομαι?
No, most definitely not.
Okay. What would be better?
Where did you go? Where did you come?
Okay, all right, come. Can either of you guess where he got begin from?
Arc. The root is arc of is it arche?
Yuga, yeah. So that it's not arche, obviously, it's from ἐρχομαι, but yeah. So I think the ἐρχομαι got confused with arche, say beginning ruler, instead of ἐρχομαι. So that's what I think happened there. So ἐρχομαι and arche got a little bit confused. All right, so this is where art thou coming? How about the apen?
I think apen is first person singular aorist active indicative.
First person singular aorist active indicative. What would the lexical form be?
I can't remember.
Can't remember. Okay.
Jody had this for a little bit ago.
I would say third person instead of first person.
Okay,
yeah,
third person and first person. Why do you say it's third person, not first person?
Because of the epsilon.
Ah, epsilon. Yeah, Yuga. So it is third person. So very good, Yuga. And what's the lexical form?
Lego.
Lego, yeah. It's
Lego.
completely different And just like saying is common in the present tense, so said is also a common word. And there's also something else that really would make a whole lot more sense here if this is third person versus first person. If it was first person, this on-air ha presbutes doesn't seem to fit as well. But if it's third person, how is on-air ha presbutes functioning in relation to the verb?
As the subject.
Yeah, you guys. So it's in the old man said. The old man said, and what did he say? He said, Pu parue kai pothen erche. All right, what is the parue?
Parue. That's from paruamai. That's second person singular, middle passive deponent of paruamai. I come, I go.
All right, Yuga. All right. I think that's all the unusual words. So why don't you give your translation one more time?
And the old man said, where are you going and from where are you coming?
Where are you going and from where are you coming? All right. Agathos ekakos.
Halas.
Kalos. All right. All right, Yuga. Let's power through. Let's do Deca Octo.
Well, I texted Bradley before class to jab me if I fall asleep. So.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
There's probably an app for that. Like you can press a button on your phone and it zaps somebody else's phone. There's a variant. It's not the biggest variant. All right. Go ahead, please.
Te hutas, hutos, lale, blasphemias, tis, dunatai, aphianai, hamartias, me, hes, ha theos.
All right, Yuga. And how would you translate that?
Why does he say the blasphemous things? Surely, who is able to release sins but one God?
One more time, please.
Why does he say the blasphemous things? Surely, who is able to release sins but one God?
Okay. Agathos ekakos.
Kakos.
Kakos. Okay. Te.
The question mark after lale, and then how did you said, I don't think you put a question mark there. I don't think you ended the sentence.
We have our notes here. Now, in the critical text, there's a question mark after the lale.
I see.
But in the TR,
Yeah, I did use the TR earlier this evening to translate it. So
this is good. So the
That would
TR's
be
got
the
99.5% of manuscripts. The Nestle has 0.5. And just in Mark 2, 6, and 7, the Nestle text does not look over the course of those two verses like even one known manuscript on the face of the earth. So let's go with the TR here.
Shame
Okay,
on
so la ley blasphemias. Okay. Okay, so you're wondering about the question. What would be the difference in how you translate la ley blaspheme versus la ley blasphemias? How would those two get translated differently?
I said, why is he saying this? Question mark, blasphemy, exclamation mark.
Yeah, that's a little bit more like the Nestle text here. So you have one verb,
Yeah.
lale, and then you have a second verb, blaspheme. But instead we have this, this is not a verb here. Okay. Okay, so that was a little bit different there. So speaking blasphemies versus speaking, he is blaspheming. Okay. How about the second half here? Maybe you can read your translation one more time.
surely, who is able to release sins but one God?
Surely he was able to release sins except one God. Okay. Agathos or kakos for that part? Ekakos.
Where's the surely coming from?
Yeah, that's not in there explicitly. I don't see it.
Okay. So no surely.
Somewhere, but I don't know where I pull it from.
I think that you inserted, both of you have inserted a surely now, and then the other one caught the surely for the. So that was good. So we don't maybe not a surely explicit surely
Right.
there. Okay. Okay. Anything else that looks questionable? So ti is y, especially when it's neuter. Okay. But the lexical form is tis ti, and it can be who, what, which, and then certain situations why. Okay, so just keep that in mind for the beginning here. Could that influence how we translate the ti in this verse?
That first T?
Yeah.
Well, the hutos is nominative,
Okay.
so that has to be the subject of lale. So then I would keep the tit as y.
I mean, why is certainly possible, but you could say, you know, who is this one, something like that too. But why would be fine. So why is this one speaking blasphemies? And then,
King James uses y.
oh, it does. Okay, I can't remember right now, but that's okay. Okay. So why is this one speaking blasphemies? Let's get the parsing of the TR verbs here. So the lale, what's the parsing of lale?
First person singular, present active indicative coming from laleo, which means to say.
So first person singular present active indicative of laleo, agathos ekakos.
Agathos.
Agathos. Okay. So lale would be I am speaking, but neither of you translated it if it's first person as I speak.
Did I say first? That's third.
Third. Yes, you. It is a third person, not first person. So yeah, so this is a third person singular present active indicative. So why is this one thus speaking? And then blasphemios here is a noun. Here, critical text has a verb. Okay, blasphemios. So why is he speaking blasphemies? The second tis, is this also a why? Like if you say the first tis is a why.
I translated that as who.
Who? Okay. What do you think about that? Do you think who or why is better?
Definitely who.
Who? Okay. Why?
No, who?
What is your reason?
There's no other word that would be the subject of dunatai, especially without the comma that's in the TR.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so who certainly does fit the context well. And then remember that tis, ti, when it's y, it's usually in the neuter ti. And so here in the second half, you have tis. So it's not a ti like at the beginning. Okay, so who is able, the dunatai, what's parsing for dunatai?
Third person, singular, middle deponent, indicative from dunamai, which means to be able.
All right. Okay. You got third person singular.
I figured out where that Shirley came from.
You figure out, oh, where did your Shirley come from?
I had pulled up the TR in accordance, and whenever I heard over A, it came up as meaning Shirley.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so a may, what's going on with the a may?
Well, that's going back to the a question that's expecting an answer of no.
Yeah. So so here he says a may together, they form an idiom except. Okay. So a may back here a while back, chapter 10. So a may is like except. You could say if not, but except is fine. So who is able to forgive sins? A may except heis ha theos. And how did you translate heis ha theos?
One, comma, God.
Yeah, except one, comma, God. Okay. All right. So let's put this whole thing together. So we can say the whole thing.
Why does he say the blasphemous things? Who is able to release sins but one, God?
All right. Agathos ekakos as that.
Agathos.
All right, you got. By the way, if someone sins against me, I can forgive them. So why would Jesus, by forgiving sins, be making a claim to deity? Because I mean, you know, if someone punches me in the face, I can forgive him, and I can. So therefore, it doesn't prove anything.
Because the people that he was telling were forgiven hadn't done anything specifically towards him. He told people, your sins are forgiven you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So only God, ultimately all sins are against God, and he's just forgiving sins that aren't like personally against him or something. He's just forgiving sins, period. And so that is definitely making a claim to deity. Christ's deity is in the synoptics, just like it is in John for sure. Okay, very good. You go. And that's why it was blasphemy to claim to forgive sins, because he's forgiving sins that are not just against him. He's forgiving sins against, you know, everyone. It'd be nice if the Roman Catholic priests in the confessional would remember this, that God alone forgives sins when they do their thing in there. Let's go to ene akai deka.
Pistuatai ta erga to satana to de cosmo luatai e kaka zoe autu hupo to Yesu.
Pistuatai ta erga tu satana to de cosmo luatai he kake zoe autu hupa to Yesu. All right.
Yeah, that. The work of Satan is believed, but the evil life of him in the world is destroyed by Jesus.
Okay, so one more time, please.
The work of Satan is believed, but the evil life of him in the world is destroyed by Jesus.
Okay, agthase kakas.
The only difference I have is that work, I translated as plural, works.
Okay. So which would be better for ta erga, the works or the work?
This works, plural.
Works. So yeah, so let's go with works for ta erga because it is plural. What's the parsing for pistuatai?
Third person singular, middle passive deponent indicative of pistuo. It's not deponent.
Pistuo.
Yep.
Okay, so if it's pistuo, it's not deponent. So then is it
I
what's
have
going
faith,
on?
I am believing.
Yeah, you good. Yeah, so that it means have faith, believing. So you good. Very good, very good. So if it's not deponent, because it's pistuo is a lexical form, got that omega at the end. So with the etai, is it middle? Is it passive? What is it doing?
Context will tell you, right?
Yeah, it would be context.
So is believed would be passive. Right?
Okay, so we're going to say it's passive. Now, what's the subject of pistuatai?
The works.
The works. Okay, so the works of Satan are believed. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
But if pistuatai is singular, but ta ergo is plural, how could that be?
Because there's one Satan.
There's one Satan. Yes, there is one Satan. That is true. But we didn't say that satana was a subject in the genitive to satana. We said that ta erga is subject. So if we're saying this is nominative plural of erga, how can a plural of erga, the nominative plural neuter, be the subject of pistuatai when it's singular? And by the way, this is a Mounce made up sentence. I think that this very thing is why he might have made the sentence up. The ta erga, the pistuatai, the plural singular. So do you remember?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. Well, see, this is good. It helps you remember. It was back in 916.
Oh, I've slept since then.
You slipped since then. Okay, well, that's okay. And it's getting later for you over there as well. So here, 916, neuter plural subjects. Greek normally uses a singular verb when the subject is neuter plural. Whoa. It is an indication that the writer is viewing the plural subject not as a collection of different things, but as one group. To keep proper English, you'll use a plural verb. So dakamadzate ta pneumata e ektutheu estin. So notice is singular, but here we have plural spirits. Okay. So over here, ta erga is the nominative neuter plural subjunctive pisteuetai. So, but it's because of that neuter plural thing that I think he may actually have given you this sentence to remind you. When the neuter plural subject takes a plural verb instead of a singular, it's actually stressing the individualities, while normally it has a singular verb in normal situations. So if you're preaching a passage or teaching through a passage and you see a neuter plural subject with a singular verb, that's actually normal. But if it's plural, then it might be emphasizing the individual subject. So I think that's actually why he gave you this sentence, to kind of make you not forget what was going on back in chapter 9. So keeping in mind that, how would we translate this first clause here then?
So it'd be the works of Satan are being believed.
Yuga, yeah, the works of Satan are being believed. Yeah, Yuga. And there's no problem with the singular verb and the plural verb.
So if you're parsing that, you would say pisteuetai is plural.
No, because parsing is talking about not how it syntactically functions. Parsing is this form. This form has a tie at the end. My sai tai metha estha antai. This is a singular form. So this pisteuetai is third singular. It's not third plural because you translate tai erga pisteuetai as plural, okay? But this form is singular. So when you parse it, you say it's singular. That's a good question, though. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, you guys. So the works of Satan are being believed. And then what did you do for the second half of it here?
I said, but the evil life of him in the world is destroyed by Jesus.
The evil life of him in the world is destroyed by Jesus. Okay. Agathos, take a cost for that.
Agathos.
Agathos, can you parse luatai, please?
That is from luo. That is third person singular, middle passive, indicative of luo. I loose, I destroy.
Yuga, yeah. So third person singular form is middle or passive, indicative of luo. So here, is it middle or passive?
Passive.
Passive. And I think you translate is being destroyed, something like that, right?
Yes, it is destroyed.
Yeah, good. Is there anything in contextually that would suggest you would expect a passive verb in this second half of the sentence versus a middle?
It's before we've covered middle.
Yeah, okay, that's a good reason. It's before we've covered middle. Yeah, okay, good reason, yeah. And also, the hupa tu Yesu, the by Jesus, like in English, when you have a by so-and-so, that's often with a passive verb. So here we have is destroyed by Jesus. So that would be another reason. The answer key said his evil life is being loosed to the world by Jesus. Well, I don't think that makes much sense. I think that the answer key guy probably should have maybe asked Mounce about that. I think luatai is destroyed makes much better sense than loose to the world. So his evil life is being destroyed in the world by Jesus. I think makes that a whole lot more sense than, and his evil life is being loosed to the world by Jesus.
That'd be terrible.
Well, I guess Jesus is like judging the world, like in the tribulation period. Let the demons out of the Euphrates or whatever.
Translated as loosed originally. Oh, I mean, that's what I translated as, because luo is loosed, is what I remember. So I was like, well, okay, then tribulation. Here we are. I mean,
yeah. I mean, luo is loose, but it's loose, untie, destroy. Okay, and here I think destroy makes much better sense than loose. The answer he says loose, but I think destroyed probably is a better idea. All right, any other questions on Akai Deka? All right, you're pushing through. Last one. Let's wrap it up. Let's do Ekasi.
Kai epen auto Nathanael ek Nazareth dunatai te agathon anai. And Nathanael said to him, what good is able to come from Nazareth?
All right, Agathos Ekakas.
I said out of Nazareth. The ek come out of Nazareth.
Yeah,
what did you say?
I said from Nazareth, but ek can be translated as from or out of.
Okay. So,
yeah,
good.
Out of or from are both fine for ek. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. Anai is the infinitive of to be, which you don't know yet, but to be from Anai ek kind of amalgamates to come from here. He gives you to come for Anai. Anai is the form of to be, but hey, that's what he gave you. Agathon, you could say what good thing is able to be out of Nazareth, but what good is able to come from Nazareth is fine too. Okay, any other comments or questions on Ekasi? It was part of the humiliation of the Son of God, his lowliness, his being made flesh, that he not only came and became man, but he's in this middle of nowhere, podunk, Hickville village, Nazareth. I mean, anything good comes from Nazareth? Or what? I mean, it has to be from Jerusalem, right? So, but no, he grew up in Nazareth, born in Bethlehem, as King of David, but grew up in Nazareth.
Hey, I mean, you live in California, so I mean, you could say that about you, right?
You could, except I mean, now from a worldly perspective, lots of things like San Francisco is full of tech companies. There's all these headquarters for. I don't know why these I guess maybe the weather is good out here. That's why. But like,
Yeah,
why would you pay all the
well-
taxes and stuff? But there's all these big shot companies that are here. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of San Francisco. I mean, hey,
And a lot that have
They're
left.
still there, or they moved to
yeah,
Florida.
a lot
yet?
of them have left. Yeah, some of them are leaving. Yep, they're getting tired of it. But there's still a lot. There's still a lot here. Still plenty of people preach the gospel too. So yeah. So that's it's part of his humiliation that from that. And of course, also if you had everybody that was your age in your town get killed from 2 years old and under, and then you have to flee to Egypt and you come back, going to the middle of podunk place where nobody cares is probably better than being in the limelight. Actually, if you since this actually happened in real space and time. All right, so very good. For that, let's read our verse. I'll wish you a benediction, and we'll head out of here. He karis tu kriou Jesu Christu, kai he agape tu theou, kai he koinonia, tu hagio pneumatas, meta ponton humon.